All right, everybody. This is Amy Fox, and I'm with Work in Progress Texas. We are in our Facebook group, Fat Loss Secrets for Busy Professionals, and I am super excited because I have a fellow coach of mine who I was connected with through Nutrition Coaching Institute, Business Coaching Institute, and her and I have connected at the in-person events that we've had. And I had asked her, I was like, hey, like, what are you really passionate about? What are you loving talking about right now? And her, one of the things was like, oh, relationships with food. And I was like, how timely is that when it comes to the holiday season, as we've already started the holiday season and then are entering into the American Thanksgiving? Because if I'm not wrong, like, you're Canadian, right?
Yes, ma'am.
We got Canadian on the line here. So I wanted to introduce y'all to my good friend Devya. And I thought, Devya, let's just start out with a little background on you, how you started coaching, like, where are you at? What are you doing? Like, what's an interest of yours? How are you where you're at? Like, give your kind of origin story in a couple of minutes here and just give us some background.
Yeah, sure. I'll give you a little Cold Notes version. So essentially, my professional background, I actually worked as a registered nurse for a few years, mostly during the pandemic, and taking care of a lot of people, especially in Canada. I noticed there was a lot of people that seemed to have less inclination to take care of themselves. And I just saw some flaws in the medical system, especially Western medicine, in not really addressing the root causes behind people's essentially health issues that they had. And it all stems from diet and exercise. So I like to help people address that root issue behind like what is causing their health problems. And then I also like to go a holistic approach. And part of that is addressing people's mindset around food and having an understanding of why it's really important to make those informed decisions about what they choose to put in their body, but also understanding the nature and like the reason like behind their behaviors, and understanding how addressing your mental health is going to inform your behaviors and what you choose to put in your body as well. And there are a lot of things that can affect that. And just from my own personal experience, I had a really unfortunate relationship with food myself. Addiction runs my family. There were multiple types of addiction in my family, but for myself in particular, it was food. I used it to cope. I used it to make myself feel better. I still have to watch my own tendencies. So for myself personally, I'm one of those people where I can't really stockpile junk food around the house. I'm more so like, if I want a treat, I'm still going to have it. I'm just going to go to the store and get a serving and enjoy it. No regrets, move on. It's fine. But like, everyone's different though, right? But it's just learning how to be cognizant of yourself, being honest with yourself about your behaviors, just so you can minimize that feedback loop cycle of starving yourself or cutting out foods that you like and then just gorging on it later. So just being honest with yourself. And that was definitely a struggle for me for a long time. I went through 3 nutrition coaches throughout me being in university when I was taking nursing school and while I worked as a nurse. So during which time I figured out what worked for me. So aside from what I learned from being a nurse and wanting to address root causes behind people's health issues and figuring out what worked for me, it was just like a catalytic effect of me wanting to just do the thing itself and be a coach and help people with said issues.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think you and I relate in that I think the desire to help other people is what kind of like pushed me to even more like learn about this stuff, figure this stuff out, because I feel like if people are looking to me and I'm holding them accountable, I better be practicing what I preach. Like, it's kind of like, I don't want people to not trust me, and I might not necessarily be at where I want to be yet, but at least they've seen that journey and that desire to get to that point,
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. What do you, when you're working with clients, because obviously as a fellow coach, like, what do you find to be the biggest obstacles for people to overcome when they start working with you?
Oof. That's a good question. I think it's a couple things. So understanding their why, understanding why it is important to make these changes, and also getting clear on their goal. Because upon initial intake, right? I'm like, hey, what are your goals? And then, oh, I want to build muscle, lose fat, and, be strong and be healthy and all these things. And it's like, okay, but like, what is the most important to you? And like the why, and like, what does achieving said goal mean to you? Like at like a mental, at a spiritual level, what does that mean to you? How does that inform your outlook and your quality of life, and how you see yourself even now? And like, how would you feel if you were in this exact same state that you are right now? Because getting that understanding between who you are and how you are now versus who you could potentially be, how you could potentially be later down the line, are two different things. So you have to be at this point where like that pain of being the exact same way you are right now, being stagnant, needs to exceed those growing pains required of change. And those are usually, I find, the biggest barriers. Yeah, and also one more I would just say would be just being afraid to eat more. Well, is usually the biggest one, because a good chunk of clients, we have to reverse diet them to figure out, okay, what is your maintenance? What does homeostasis look like for your body? So getting them to not be afraid to eat more as well is usually a huge issue. I've worked with a few clients that have a history of disordered eating.
Yep. That's so true. I can completely relate to the eating more category, because it's usually one or the other, right? It's usually like you're either eating too much or you're usually eating too little, and then there's a lot of inconsistency. So it's like good and bad days, and it just kind of bounces all over the place. So a lot of the times that homeostasis is like, how can we get you consistent, and what does that look like for you, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So as we like enter into the holiday season, obviously our Facebook group is called Fat Loss Secrets for Busy Professionals. And so it's always about kind of like, a lot of the times people are looking to lose weight. And so one of the things with the holidays, I see it in a couple of different ways. It's like it can either accelerate your goals because maybe it's a building phase for you at this time. Maybe it's time to build muscle. So that's like a win-win, because it's like the extra calories play in your favor. There's also the aspect. Oh, sorry, go ahead. But
turkey gains.
Turkey gains. I like that. Okay, turkey gains. Yes, either turkey gains, or it exposes weaknesses or issues or sensitivities or something, because all of a sudden you have all these indulgences around you, these parties. So it either like derails people, accelerates people, or it makes them feel like crap the whole time. Like it's just a couple of different personalities. So when we look to like the social pressures of eating habits and such, like what is that? How do you suggest some people navigate around those social pressures? Because I think that's the biggest thing I find is in the holiday season in particular, you're in circumstances that are not necessarily under your control. You're going to a party that you're invited to, families cooking, all these odds and ends. So what does that look like if you're talking about relationship with food for people?
Yeah, so a few things. Agreed in terms of like people that are looking for like strength goals or reverse dieting, then the holidays could bode okay for them. But I have done some research of my own, and a lot of studies show that people that are trying to do any like drastic weight loss measures during the holidays tend to not only be unsuccessful, but tend to actually gain weight. So I'm noticing that the commonality here is just going for the extremes during times when you're tempted, like when you're having indulgences, and indulgences aren't necessarily a bad thing per se. It's just that how the human brain works, though, is when you're trying to go to extremes of cutting your calories and whatnot, then you tend to just be more prone to crave other shit more that you're not having, right? So it's understanding that aspect. Unless you're like training something particular for like general population people, it's just really not a good idea. But otherwise, in terms of the social pressures, the social part of it is a huge, it can either be a catalyst for your health or the opposite. So I am very bluntly honest when it comes to this. You actually need to audit your social circle. Like if you like when you're like during the holidays, you're seeing a bunch of family that sometimes you might not see all the time during the year, right? And sometimes that's for a reason. Some people everybody has that in-law or Aunt Lorna, that person that just drives them insane, makes them stressed out, and makes them want to be like, oh my God, I need to have a freaking shot so I can get to this conversation. It's like, you know what? If this person stresses you out so much, maybe just like have a quick coffee visit with her, drop off Christmas gifts, say hi, whatever, and save your intimate social gatherings, those dinners, with the people that you genuinely enjoy hanging out with, where less stress is induced, to minimize that stress eating, that stress drinking, right? So just being cognizant of the effects of people around you and how that informs your behaviors. So that's something that I am pretty open and pretty blunt about. It's really important to keep that in mind. Otherwise, it's also just a matter of like, in terms of food wise, habit wise, there are a few ways you can navigate this. For people that happen to be tracking their calories and want to not go totally far off, like I don't really aggressively track during like the day where I'm going for a holiday dinner. But what you could do is, if you're tracking your calories at least during the week, you could calorie cycle it. So let's say your usual calorie average intake is like, I don't know, 2,200 calories, right? You could, like, during the week, just aim for 2,000 calories and then have enough room in the bank on Saturday, Sunday dinners for like or total calories on those days for 2,700. So at least you have a bit of wiggle room, still enjoy the day, whatever. Like, again, I don't aggressively track on those days. And then just get back to your normal routine. You don't need to overcompensate. I find that's a huge issue. That kind of thing, like overexercise or undereat the next day. Like, you don't need to do anything too drastic. But then for people that aren't really into the tracking, right? Again, it's just general portion sizes. Eating your food in order, I find, really helps. Just to still ensure you get some good nutrients in you. Eat your veggies first and your protein, and then enjoy those carbs. It actually really helps reduce blood sugar spikes as well when you do it in that order, which actually can reduce cravings too. And just like maybe waiting 15 minutes before I go for seconds. It takes time for your satiety hormones to kick in. Go for a walk, maybe. That also increases insulin sensitivity. It's like, hey, family, let's go for a family walk kind of thing after a meal, instead of sometimes, if you don't go for a walk, people sit and lounge. Then when you're bored, I'm just gonna go like for this plate of cookies sitting right here. And again, cookies aren't a bad thing. Enjoy a cookie or whatever after dinner.
Right? Yes. We want you to enjoy the cookies.
Enjoy those things. It's just, are you eating it to enjoy it, or are you eating it out of boredom? And another way that I like to have people troubleshoot that specific issue is like, okay, how did that cookie taste? It's like, well, you know what a cookie tastes like. I'm like, okay, but how did that cookie taste? Was it cinnamony? Was it stale? Was it hard? Was it chewy? How did that cookie taste? And if they don't know what it tasted like, that's how you know if you were actually sitting to enjoy that cookie or to just stuff your face.
I love that. If you can't remember how it tasted, did you really sit and enjoy it? Because I think that's a fantastic, like, leading into a tip as far as like just slowing down a little bit, right? It's like just slowing down, chewing your food a little bit, taking a pause, like being aware of what you're doing, like listening to your stomach, being okay to put some leftovers off to the side. And like say, hey, I can come back to that later. I'm just going to eat half now and I'll have half later. But I love that idea too of like, if you didn't remember the flavor, like how enjoyable was that really? Like, was that worth it? Was it like, in your mouth, or was it like not? You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I love that.
Yeah, exactly. And like, I think the only times, ideally, like during the week, let's say if you feel like busy where I don't remember how things taste, it'd be like, if I'm just busy and working and it's usually healthy food I'm eating, it's like, okay, I'm just eating it for fuel. But again, it's just, it's micronutrient dense, healthy whole food that I'm eating. But like, again, during the holidays, you're eating food you don't usually eat. And you know what? Enjoy that. It is good to enjoy different things. Like it's a social medium food. It's taste is a sense for a reason. It's how you experience life. So it's not the devil by any means. It's just, you just gotta just be honest with yourself, And like, if you need, like, another tip that I like to give people is like, have an accountability buddy. That never hurts, right? Like, if you need someone to like chat with, like during the holidays, like, hey, how are you feeling after dinner? Or, do you want to work out with me during the week before dinner? That kind of thing. And again, it's not to try to compensate. It's just carrying out your usual lifestyle routine.
Balancing it out. Exactly. Exactly. That leads into a really good thing about, like, I like how, again, how you highlighted the flavor. Can you remember it? So how do you identify like a treat and enjoying something versus gorging yourself and being unreasonable with, especially with you, if you have specific goals? Like if you don't have goals, we're not talking about you, but if you do have goals, like we're talking about you. So is there a difference between like just treating yourself or like gorging?
Totally, 100% a difference. You got to ask it, like, what are you doing? Like, one, what are you doing and how are you feeling when you're having this treat?
Yep.
Right. So if you're feeling like shit, and I've been there, trust me, like in my nursing days, like I specifically remember numerous instances for me, like my trigger food is like sugary cereals. So, like I remember coming off a night shift. Night shift definitely gives you munchies to begin with. But I was just really, I was tired. I was hungry. I, barely like made it home. I walked up on top of the fridge with a box of cereal. I literally just blindly poured like 3 bowls of cereal and ate through it. I woke up and like it felt like a dream. I woke up with the aftertaste in my mouth after having a nap after my night shift, and I was like, did I literally eat 3 bowls of cereal when I got home from shift? Did that happen? Like, so just being aware of like what you're doing, how you're emotionally feeling, are you stressed? What is the reasoning behind it? If you genuinely want to enjoy a treat, great. Like, is your head clear? Have you, had good nutrient dense food throughout the day as well? Because again, how you start your day is going to set the tone for what else you want to eat. Because if you start the day on a sweet note, right, then that actually increases unhealthy gut bacteria and makes you want to crave more things when that happens too. So it's just like your habits in the beginning of the day kind of inform the rest of the day. So just how the whole day looked, your mental health, your physical health, just everything is going to affect whether or not you're having a treat or if you're just blindly gorging.
I like that perspective too, as far as like reflecting on the day. Like there's nothing wrong with taking time to evaluate, like, why am I craving something like this? Like, why am I needing this? What else is going on in my life today that led me to these choices, or to feel like I can't get enough either? And I like how it's like kind of that first meal of the day can in a sense determine that. So as someone like yourself who dealt with like night shifts and things that are not a normal schedule, do you feel like there was much of a difference of suggestion on how to treat things with night shift, because it's kind of like flipped versus like day shift people? How do you kind of find that balance with something that's not like the normal circadian rhythm?
Oh yeah. Thankfully I don't do night shifts anymore.
Yay!
But when I did, I only had them in clumps. Thankfully, they weren't like long strings of like a week in a row of night shifts or 2 weeks in a row of night shifts. I only did like 2 to 3 night shifts in a row. But yeah, your body has issues with regulating its blood sugar during the night. It also has general issues with digestion in general. You're more prone to bloat and inflammation during the night shift because your body, your circadian rhythm, like it syncs to your digestive processes. So studies show it's ideal to sync when you eat with when the sun is up versus when it's down. So like there was a study that I read that showed that compared the same people that ate the same carby meal. There was a 4-point difference in their blood sugar when they ate it at night. It was 4 points higher versus during the daytime. So that's why night shift workers are a lot more prone to high blood pressure, obesity, diabetes. Like it's an actual thing. So during that time for a night shift, I'd have my normal dinner at the beginning of shift, but then I wouldn't eat during the night shift. I would just drink lots of water, electrolytes, that kind of thing. And then, have another snack when I got home. And then if I'm in between shifts, take as much of a nap as I'm able to. And then again, try to trick my body that it's daytime before shift and like go outside for a walk, get the sun on my face kind of thing before shift again. And then like kind of coming off of the string of shifts the day after, take a shorter nap. So just take a nap for like no more than 4 hours. So around like noon, get up, because I'd work 7 to 7. So, it takes an hour to go home, go to bed, whatever. But then like noon, wake up, chug some water, and then like maybe like a light physical activity, getting outside again, and going to bed early to kind of make up for that sleep debt. That's kind of how I would like trick my body to like try to get back to like daytime functioning a little bit. But yeah, like I like to avoid having anything too sugary or too high glycemic for my dinner at night shift, because that blood sugar spike would make me want to just say fuck it, have the night shift munchies, and then just eat a bunch and then feel like crap, be bloated. It's this like unending feedback loop from hell. And like when you work on a unit, you know, like patient's family leaves like, you know, boxes of chocolates and candies and donuts and a bunch of things you don't need. And I'm like, I learned to exercise self-control. It's like, nope, I don't need that. I don't need that. I'm gonna feel like shit. I'm gonna feel like shit. And like asking yourself, like, it's not just a question of like, in terms of mentality, going back to like, when you're being presented with a treat, it's like, it's not necessarily always a question of saying, oh, I can't have this, I can't have this, I can't have this, because how human psychology works, right? Like we want shit that we can't have. So if you're telling yourself you can't have something, you're gonna have it eventually. Then for me, it was genuine, like, you know what? I just don't want it. If you don't want it, it's okay. There's a difference between you can't have it versus you just don't want it. So just reorienting the language with yourself as well is important.
And I think that's really awesome that you're saying this kind of mental chatter that we have to navigate through, which I think is extremely normal. And I think that some people maybe they assume that it's not normal to have these inner dialogues, but it's like, just when I'm abstaining from alcohol, I mean, I'm having the same kind of dialogue in my head, like, hey, you know, on a day that I have too much alcohol, I sleep like crap, I feel miserable. Like today I'm choosing not to have it because I want to feel this way. I want to be productive. I want to get things done. And so do you feel like, I mean, I feel like we deal with a lot of disordered eating. So obviously it sounds like it's kind of like a mental thing. So how do they get past this mindset shift of this disordered eating and trying to figure out like a better, healthier relationship with food? Is that the dialogue that we talk about, like as far as like coaching people through? I mean, it's kind of like you and I kind of know the answer, but I think for our audience, as far as like, you know, there's some hidden disorder eating that I think we all experience just from growing up and whatever commercials we watched or what we saw our mom do or saw a relative or something like that. So, you know, what's that starting point for somebody to kind of turn that switch the other way?
Oof.
I know it's like, do we have 4 hours to talk about this? No.
Yeah. One step at a time, trying to not overwhelm yourself with all of the things. So for example, if tracking gives you anxiety, then it's like, okay, let's work around that then, kind of thing, because we want to minimize too much anxiety. So just like, let's just like see if we can just focus on adding some nutrient dense foods, right? So for people that are afraid of eating more, for example, it's like, okay, but like, you know, you need to get those nutrients in. So maybe like not having so much volume of food, but still having like the high caloric, low volume foods, like sneaking in there just bit by bit though, right? Of course, like they're still going to be like in the back of their mind, depending on how aggressive their disordered eating habits were, right? They're like, oh my God, that's high calorie. It's like, okay, let's just like add little bits at a time. So just like teaching, it's more so focusing on the other wins. Like, hey, like, do you notice that like with you eating more, you're starting to just like have more energy in the day and you're starting to sleep better and you're starting to actually like have libido again? And they're like, yeah, holy shit, this is what happens when I eat more. So just focusing on like learning to have a dialogue with not just your mind, but also your body and understanding what your body's communicating. So I feel like as a coach, I feel like I'm kind of the liaison between the person's body and their brain when they're trying to communicate to each other. So that's why, like with my check-ins, I have like those, you know, like those biofeedback indicator questions, right? Gym performance, libido, sleep quality, cravings, digestion, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, hey, these things are improving. That means your body's communicating to you that it's starting to come to a more of a balanced, happier state, just so you know, because clients, they overlook that. Most clients are, it's not their fault, just with media, with whatever, they're raised to just look at the scale and whatnot. And it's like, okay, these are actually, here's some other things you need to be looking at other than the scale. So one of my biggest mantras is just having people understand how to communicate with their body, and when your body's communicating with you, your body's a very smart machine, and it does communicate with you. You just got to learn how to listen.
I love that. That's so good. Because, and I love how you said like being a coach basically is the liaison between like your body and your mind and whatever. Like that's so good because it's like, I think that's true. It's like you're trying to break habits that have obviously resulted in an outcome that you're not happy with. So it's how do we navigate those one by one, trying not to overwhelm people all of the time. Like it's one of those things that's why you guys like coaching one-on-one has its value because you work with somebody who can guide and build that roadmap for you and help you. And then when you're feeling down, being like, no, you message me and let's talk through it because you're not alone in this. Like, we're not going to leave you hanging, right? We're going to make sure that you're well supported with this because we're breaking down some walls that are stalling you. And I think the biggest challenge I have a lot of people times is with the scale, the weight in the scale. It's kind of like, no. Just like you talked about a second ago, Debbie, the biofeedback, we look at energy, hunger, craving, sex drive, like where's your mindset shift? Where's your sleep at? Like, how are you feeling? Like all of that stuff plays a role in an eventual outcome that is sustainable long-term. So I love that you highlight that. And that's why we get measurements, like pictures, other things that we can measure when the scale is either stagnant or it's still a part of the information. It's not the be all end all.
No.
And it's hard for people to give up. It really is for people to not identify their goals and success with the scale number.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, I think this has been, we covered a lot of the stuff that I felt like, I think it's really what it comes down to, if I was to summarize, is kind of a mindset shift, which people are, having to work and build towards. So do you have anything else that's in your mind that you want to kind of close out the evening with? Because again, we very much appreciate you taking the time to kind of step in here and have another perspective come in and be like, you guys, hey, mindset, like I think it's coming back down to mindset. That's kind of like the takeaway that I'm getting here.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So it's just a matter of, I think just getting out of the mindset of like, how little can I eat where I can kind of be a functioning human, and focusing more so on like, how much does my body actually need? Like there's understanding the difference between those two things, and like feeding your body out of nourishment, not just meeting basic needs by the food and diet guideline regulations, and understanding like actually everyone's body has their own unique blueprint of what it needs.
Yes.
And like embracing the journey of getting to know your body, getting to know its functions, like respect and love the beauty of your body. Like it's your home, you're living in your body. So
Yes.
like get to learn to love to live in it, get to learn how to take care of it. And I find quality of life, the relationship with food, relationship just with your body, everything just tends to improve a lot.
Yes, I love that. I think that is, we should be thankful for our bodies and their abilities and the fact that we're able and we can do things, because there are people that have more challenges than we, and they're doing like amazing things, right? You can see somebody like in a wheelchair like accomplishing something, and you're like, I have no excuse not to walk or not to get outside. Like that person would love to be able to walk, and I can. It's kind of like, and if you can't walk, you crawl, and if you can't crawl, you sludge around, you do whatever you can, right? Like one step at a time.
Yeah, and I think with that mentality in mind, it's like with if you're doing what you can, then that is progress for you, right? I find it kind of reminds me of like how some people like compare with others, right? And
Yes.
their journey's like, okay, but their progress doesn't look like yours. So kind of separating yourself from that.
Yes.
So like when I'm at the gym, I don't give a shit who's lifting what weight next to me. I don't give a shit who is looking whatever certain way. Like for all I know, they might feel like shit, or they might like not where they want to be. Like the grass is always going to be on the green on the other side. So there's no point wasting your time focusing on what's going on, like over the fence. Focusing on watering your own damn lawn. Just watering your own,
Yes.
like,
Yes. Because I
yeah.
think people don't understand too, when they see people with certain physiques or body composition that they're wanting, realizing the sacrifice that might be taking to get that person there. And just like you said, like everyone's body shape is different. I mean, the biggest thing about the body positive movement that I could support is that everybody has a different shape and size. You know, it's like, I'm never going to be a Victoria's Secret model because I am never going to be a size 2, right? It's one of those things where it's like there's some positivity about like shape and features and different things, but you're right, you can't compare yourself to somebody else. It's just, it's going to hold you back more than move you forward if you just keep doing that over and over and over again.
Yeah, absolutely. Like with the body positivity movement, it's just like, of course, the only beef I have with it is just there's
Well, I got a lot of beefs with it, but that's one beef that I don't have with it.
body positivity. Okay. It's just about like, of course, you don't need to be this tiny person or this crazy shredded human or whatever. Like you want to be healthy. But there's also that other line where if you're on the exact other side of the spectrum, then that also is a health issue too.
Yes.
They're both equally health issues. And this doesn't mean that like people are hating on you for having that health issue. It's just, again, this is your body. Do you want to live in your body? Does it feel good to live in that body? Like, love yourself enough to take care of yourself and take care of your health, right?
Yes.
Like there's a difference. And yeah, just like understanding, yeah, everyone's shape and body's gonna be different. It took me a long time to embrace and be okay with my shape. Like I was never built petite, right? Like I'm not tall. I'm 5'4 3/4. I'm not a tall person, but I'm built like my boyfriend calls it, I'm built like a mini fridge. Like I have
A mini fridge.
I have broad shoulders. I have a barrel rib cage. Like I'm not built tiny this way, right?
Mhm.
And it took me a long time to be okay with that. It's like, hey, well, short from surgically like shaving off my shoulders, which I have no intention of doing, like might as well, like I'm at this point where I embrace my shoulders. I like having strong shoulders. Like there's nothing wrong with anatomical variations like that. Just learn to love the uniqueness of your body.
Mhm.
I think having a diverse world of people with unique bodies is a beautiful thing. It doesn't have to be this it doesn't have to be held up to societal standards, right? Societal standards and movies we've watched growing up would be all these ladies skinny with the big bouncing boobs running around and the beach and whatever with these huge big jock guys. And it's like, guess what? Not all guys are crazy huge and jacked. Not all girls are tiny petite. Like we're all just going to be the way that we are, and like we're just going to build ourselves to be the most optimal that we are for ourselves. And it doesn't inform people always worry about, this means, that this is going to make you less attractive. It's like, what, the most attractive people I've ever met are people that just embrace themselves for how they are and just grow to be the best selves that they are uniquely.
Yes, that's true. I mean, there's a natural attraction to energy of people who have confidence and are solid. And it doesn't mean that they don't have their days of ups and downs or whatever, but it's like, I have had to work at embracing what I have too. And it's not always easy, or like I can't control acne breakouts or certain imperfections that are on my body, but it's one of those things where it's like, okay, you work with what you've got. And when you release some of that stress and kind of accept some of those imperfections, it is really freeing. And it's not like it stays forever, but it's kind of a muscle that you have to work, just like your bicep. You have to work your mindset. And, if you talk negatively to yourself in the mirror, it's going to create negativity back. If you talk positive to yourself in the mirror, it's going to create positive back. Like, I would never look at you and be like, oh, Devia, like that Z on your face really sucks. It's like, I might say it to myself, but why would I say it to myself? It just brings me down. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, I think what's kind of like that takeaway of today's talk is like that mindset shift. It's like, hey, around the holiday season, like there's things you can do to still move forward. Don't beat yourself up if you fall off a little bit. It's okay. It's just another day. It's just a couple of days out of the season. Like, work with a coach if you have specific goals, but like it's okay to have this dialogue in your head to get you to move forward. It's normal. It's not like it's not normal to do this. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like millionaires, billionaires have dialogue that they're working through on a regular basis, or successful people, you know, it's normal.
Yeah, no, it totally is. And like, one last note I just want to say is like your mind, it hears words, not tone. So
Mm,
when people make self-deprecating jokes about themselves, people that I
mm,
care about, if they do, then I call them out on it. It's like,
mhm.
okay, no, not cool, kind of thing. Like your body hears, like your brain hears your words. So just as much as your body's going to react to something that it doesn't like, your brain is going to react accordingly as well, right?
Love
And
that.
when you're working, like when you're talking about, working your brain like you're working a muscle, like it takes time for that new mindset shift to happen. It takes time for those new habits to happen, because you're literally physically forming these new neurofeedback pathways in your brain.
Mm,
It
mhm,
takes just as much, if not more work than working a muscle. So just being really patient with yourself, being
mm.
really self-aware. So like another tip, journaling is very important.
Okay.
Reflect it in the beginning and just the end of the day. Like maybe like end of the day, just a quick 5 minute, like what are some observations you noticed the day, but how you felt and your behavior, your mindset as a result, that kind of thing, versus the beginning of the day, just like set some intentions for the day and like easy, realistic goals to make in the day, that kind of thing.
Mhm.
Um, and just being at peace with, if things don't work at 100% exactly you wanted them to, you are human.
Love
So
that.
just giving yourself that grace. It's like, you know what, I did the best I did today. I'm just gonna keep on growing from here. Like the growth never stops, no matter how old you are. Just embrace it. And like again, like as evolving human beings, I think that evolution is just it's a beautiful process. Like who
Mm.
wants to be stagnant? So like embrace that growth. It's a great journey, and just write it out. I
Yes.
think that's my last tidbit for you. Sorry.
No, don't be sorry at all. This is fantastic. This is like taking up all notes, because what I like to do after these is always kind of summarize, like, this is why you should watch this, because there's little tidbits. I love that. That's fantastic. I love like it's, and that's why I had you on, because I was like, just having someone else's perspective come in here and reiterate, like, I think it's good when fellow coaches can support one another and be like saying the similar message, because there's obviously been lots of messages that are going all over social media, all over diet culture. I mean, I hate that phrase, but it's kind of, there's no really easier way to say it, diet culture, and I'm trying to put in a new narrative. And so that's one of the benefits of us connecting through the way we connected, because I think all of us are on that mission to change that narrative and make patients a part of the process, mindset a part of the process, get people to realistic expectations so that they can hold off and maintain their goals, right? Because I think the biggest thing we see is that people can drop weight like this, but maintaining it long term is a problem. And that's where we're not dealing with the mindset shift stuff that we're talking about today. So I just really appreciate you taking time out of your evening and your schedule to come in here and share these tidbits. I think it was a fantastic overview, like in a condensed little version of our talk or whatever. But I really appreciate you taking the time and coming in and educating. So I'm going to definitely put this on some places where people can access it. Do you have any closing remarks before I end our time?
No, I don't think so. I just want to say thank you for having me. It's great to connect with you. It's great to spread out the good word and just understanding, having people understand that like uh forming new habits for yourself doesn't have to conform to the norms of diet culture, right? So it doesn't have to, it's not some fad crash diet of like 75 hard, keto, blah, blah, blah. Just like do the shit that works for you that you need, right?
Mhm.
Um, yeah, people can add me on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. It's at dev.divine_nutrition. Yeah, that's all I got for
Awesome.
you, man. Thank you for
That's
having
great.
me.
Absolutely. I will put your handle in our little notes. And again, like, super appreciate your time and your nuggets of information. It's great. It's good to have a perspective from somebody who's been doing it for a while, who's also a nurse, who worked a night shift. Like, yeah, if you guys have any more questions for her on some challenges, please reach out to her. I'll put her information in our comment section. But This is great. I think we're set for the holidays. Let's do it.
Perfect. Let's crush it, guys.
Okay. Awesome. All right. Well, that it will be Amy signing off, and I appreciate Debbie you so much, and appreciate everybody who watched this and the replay and everything. So we will talk to you soon, and happy Thanksgiving or American Thanksgiving.
American Thanksgiving and holidays.
Thank you. Awesome. All right. I'll talk to you later, girl.
Talk to you later.
All right. Bye.